February 25th, 1964, Miami Beach Convention Hall. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and tension. 8,000 people had crammed into the arena, and millions more were watching on closed-circuit television across America. This wasn't just a boxing match. This was a cultural collision. In one corner sat Sonny Liston, the heavyweight champion of the world. At 32 years old, he was an intimidating figure, a former mob enforcer with a stare that could make grown men look away. His hands were massive, his punches devastating. He'd destroyed Floyd Patterson twice, knocking him out so badly that Patterson had worn a disguise to leave the arena in shame. Liston had a criminal record that included assault, armed robbery, and suspected murder. When asked about fighting Liston, one boxer had said, "I'd rather fight a grizzly bear." The odds makers had Liston as a 7-1 favorite. Some bookies wouldn't even take bets on Clay winning. The outcome seemed that certain. In the other corner sat Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr., a 22-year-old from Louisville, Kentucky, who'd spent the weeks before the fight doing something no one had ever done before. He'd been terrorizing the champion psychologically. Clay had shown up at Liston's house at 3 in the morning, honking his horn and shouting, "Come out of there! I'm gonna whoop you right now!" He'd written poems predicting the round he'd win. He'd called Liston ugly and a big, ugly bear. At the weigh-in that morning, Clay had appeared to have a complete mental breakdown. His blood pressure had spiked to dangerous levels. He'd screamed and lunged at Liston, requiring multiple people to hold him back. The Miami Boxing Commission had fined him $2,500 for his behavior. Reporters wrote that Clay was terrified and coming unglued. But it was all an act. Clay wasn't scared. He was a master of psychological warfare, and he'd gotten inside Liston's head in a way no one else ever had. When the opening bell rang, Clay did something Liston had never seen before. He didn't back up. He moved. Fast. Incredibly fast. His jab snapped out with lightning speed, connecting with Liston's face again and again. "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee," Clay had said, and that's exactly what he was doing. For 3 rounds, Clay dominated. He circled, jabbed, and made Liston look slow. His combinations were crisp and accurate. In round 3, he cut Liston under his left eye. Blood trickled down the champion's cheek. The man who terrified the heavyweight division was bleeding. Liston's corner was panicking. Their invincible champion was losing to a fighter they'd called a clown. And so, between rounds 3 and 4, they made a decision that would change everything. As Liston sat on his stool, his chief second, Joe Polino, was working on applying coagulant to the cut under Liston's eye. The substance was meant to stop bleeding, but there was something else, a caustic chemical, possibly a strong liniment or an illegal substance designed to burn and temporarily blind an opponent if it made contact with eyes. Whether this was intentional sabotage or a reckless accident has been debated for 60 years, but what happened next is undeniable fact. When round 4 began, Clay pressed forward, landing punches on Liston's face, and then, as the fighters clinched and Clay's face came close to Liston's gloves and upper body, the transfer happened. The substance from Liston's gloves and corner touched Clay's eyes. Within seconds, Clay's world went dark. "My eyes," Clay would later recall. "It felt like someone had rubbed hot sauce in them, then lit them on fire." But he was in the middle of a round. He couldn't stop. He couldn't call time out. He had to survive. Temporarily blinded, Clay did the only thing he could. He held on. He clinched with Liston, buying himself time, trying to blink away whatever was burning his eyes. When the bell rang to end round 4, Clay stumbled back to his corner in panic. "Cut him off!" Clay screamed at Dundee, clawing at his gloves. "Cut the gloves off! I can't see! I can't see anything!"
Dundee looked into his fighter's eyes. They were red, watering profusely, and Clay clearly couldn't focus on anything. Across the ring, Liston was standing, waiting like a predator sensing wounded prey. Dundee had been in boxing for decades. He'd trained champions. He'd seen dirty tricks before. He knew exactly what had happened. Someone in Liston's corner had used something illegal, and now his fighter was paying the price. The referee was looking over, ready to check on Clay. If Dundee called for a doctor, the fight would be stopped. Clay would lose. His championship dream would be over. And more than that, everyone would say Clay had quit, that he'd talked a big game but couldn't back it up when facing real danger. But there was another option, a terrible, risky option. Dundee grabbed a sponge soaked in clean water and quickly washed Clay's eyes out, doing everything he could to flush away the burning substance. Then he grabbed Clay by the shoulders and looked directly into his unfocused, burning eyes. "This is your night," Dundee shouted over the crowd noise. "You hear me? This is your night. You're faster than him. Just survive this round. Stay away from him, and you'll get him." "I can't see him," Clay protested. "You don't need to see him," Dundee said. "You need to survive him. Now get out there, Big Daddy." And then Dundee did something that boxing people would argue about for decades. He physically pushed Clay off the stool and back toward the center of the ring as the bell for round 5 rang. What happened in the next 3 minutes would become legendary. Cassius Clay entered round 5 completely blind. He couldn't see Sonny Liston. He couldn't see the ropes. He couldn't see the referee. He could only hear the crowd screaming, the sound of feet moving on canvas, the breathing of the most dangerous heavyweight in the world somewhere in front of him. Liston sensed something was wrong. He moved forward, throwing heavy punches, trying to end the fight right there. And several of them landed, big, hard shots that would have dropped most fighters. But Clay's natural defensive instincts took over. Even blind, his body remembered the patterns. When he heard movement to his left, he moved right. When he sensed Liston coming forward, he moved back. His hands stayed up, protecting his face. His feet kept moving, never letting Liston set up completely for a knockout blow. It was like fighting a ghost, Liston's trainer would later say. Even when he couldn't see, we couldn't hit him clean. Clay spent the entire round in survival mode. He clinched when he could, holding on to Liston to buy time for his vision to clear. He threw occasional blind punches just to keep Liston from getting too comfortable. He moved, constantly moved, using the sound of the crowd and his own instincts to avoid being cornered. Several times Liston landed solid punches. Clay's head snapped back. His body absorbed punishment. But he didn't go down. He wouldn't go down. Not like this, not because of something illegal, not before he proved he was more than just a loudmouth kid. The crowd was going insane. They didn't know Clay was blind, but they could see something was wrong, could see that Clay was fighting differently, more desperately, and they could see that somehow, impossibly, he was surviving. As the round went on, 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours to Clay, something miraculous began to happen. His vision started to come back, blurry at first, like looking through water, then clearer. The burning didn't stop, but he could see shapes, movement, light.
He could see Sonny Liston. When the bell rang to end round 5, Clay stumbled back to his corner. Dundee immediately went to work on his eyes again, flushing them with water. "Can you see?" Dundee asked. Clay blinked several times. His eyes were still burning, still watering, but he could see clearly now. "Yeah," Clay said, and suddenly his voice changed from panic to fury. "Yeah, I can see, and now I'm gonna get him." What happened in round 6 was pure violence. Clay came out like a man possessed. All the fear, all the panic, all the rage at being sabotaged transformed into focused aggression. His punches came in rapid combinations, left jab, straight right, left hook, over and over. Liston's head snapped back with each impact. The champion tried to fight back, but something was broken inside him. He'd thrown everything at Clay in round 5, his best punches against a blind opponent, and Clay had survived. Now Clay was punishing him for it. Blood poured from Liston's cut. His face swelled. His legendary stare was gone, replaced by something boxers fear more than anything: doubt. By the end of round 6, Liston was in bad shape. His corner worked frantically between rounds, trying to stem the bleeding, trying to restore their fighter's confidence. But Liston was sitting on that stool, and for the first time in his professional career, he looked defeated. When the bell rang for round 7, Liston didn't get up. He stayed on his stool, claiming his shoulder was injured. His corner didn't protest. The referee walked over, examined Liston briefly, and then turned to the ring announcer. The winner, by technical knockout, Cassius Clay. For a moment, there was shocked silence, and then pandemonium. Clay jumped up, literally leaping in the air, screaming at the top of his lungs. He ran to the ropes, pointing at the reporters who'd picked against him, at the crowd that had doubted him. "I shook up the world," he screamed into the cameras. "I'm the king of the world. I'm pretty. I'm a bad man. I shook up the world." The reporters rushed the ring. Clay, still high on adrenaline and fury, grabbed their microphones. "I told you I was the greatest. I told you. All of you who picked Liston, you were wrong. I'm the greatest thing that ever lived. I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old." In the chaos, few people initially understood what had really happened, but over the following days, the truth emerged. Multiple boxing insiders confirmed that something caustic had been on Liston's gloves and body. Whether it was intentional sabotage or a reckless use of coagulant didn't matter. It had nearly cost Clay the fight. Clay's ring doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, later wrote, "Somebody had to have juiced Liston's gloves. That wasn't just regular coagulant. Cassius's eyes were burning for hours after the fight." Author and New Yorker editor David Remnick, in his book, King of the World, interviewed multiple people who were there that night. The consensus: Liston or his corner had used an illegal substance, whether by direct intent or by negligent application. But here's what makes this story more than just a tale of cheating and survival. Here's why this moment mattered more than just another boxing match. At 22 years old, Cassius Clay became the heavyweight champion of the world, not just because he was fast or skilled or confident. He became champion because when faced with an impossible situation, fighting blind against the most dangerous man in boxing, he refused to quit. He could have stopped. Dundee could have called for a doctor. No one would have blamed them. Instead, Clay fought 3 minutes while unable to see, surviving through instinct, courage, and pure will.
The next day, at the press conference, Clay announced something that shocked America even more than his victory. He confirmed that he was a member of the Nation of Islam and that he was changing his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. "Cassius Clay is a slave name," he said. "I don't want that name. I am Muhammad Ali, a free name. It means beloved of God, and I insist people use it when speaking to me." The fighter who'd proved his courage in the ring by surviving blind was now proving his courage outside the ring by claiming his identity in an America that didn't want to give it to him. That fight against Liston, particularly that 5th round when Ali fought without sight, became a metaphor for his entire life. Again and again, Ali would face impossible situations. When he refused to go to Vietnam, they took away his title and banned him from boxing for 3.5 years. When Parkinson's disease ravaged his body, taking away his ability to speak clearly and move freely, he kept appearing in public, kept advocating for peace and justice. Every time, people said it was impossible. Every time, Ali proved them wrong. The story of that February night in Miami is more than boxing history. It's about what happens when talent meets courage, meets absolute refusal to quit. It's about a young man who, when he couldn't see his opponent, fought him anyway. Sonny Liston never recovered from that loss. In the rematch 15 months later, Ali would knock him out in the first round with what journalists dubbed the phantom punch. Angelo Dundee was asked years later if he regretted pushing a blind fighter back into the ring. "Regret?" Dundee said. "That was the moment I knew Cassius wasn't just good, he was great. You can teach speed, you can teach technique, you can't teach what he showed that night. When you're blind and you still refuse to lose, that's when you know you're watching history." On that night, in round 5, Cassius Clay fought for 3 minutes without being able to see his opponent, and in doing so, he showed the world something they'd never seen before. A fighter who was so determined, so skilled, so unbreakable that even being blind couldn't stop him from becoming champion. The young man who shook up the world would go on to shake it again and again, refusing to fight in Vietnam, converting to Islam, becoming Muhammad Ali, winning the title 3 times, fighting with Parkinson's disease, and ultimately becoming perhaps the most famous and beloved athlete in human history. But it all started on that February night when a 22-year-old kid fought 3 minutes in total darkness and came out a champion. If this incredible story of courage and impossible victory moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about what's possible when you refuse to quit. Have you ever had to fight through something while blind, not knowing how it would turn out, but pushing forward anyway? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing true stories about the moments that define sporting legends.